Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Alexandra Vanderval and I'm going to be your host for today's session. We highly recommend that you call into this webinar from your mobile using the local numbers provided. For best experience, please also close all the other applications for the duration of the webinar. Today's session will focus on creating business value with Microsoft's Power Platform and will be led by Capgemini's Alliance Manager, Viktor and Partner Technology Strategist from Microsoft, Peter Rhodin. The webinar will take approximately 45 minutes, and since everybody on this call is muted, please type any questions you might have into GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll try to either answer them at the end of the session or we'll definitely respond to you after with an email. So now, without any further ado, I would like to hand over to our presenters.
So thank you very much, Alexandra. Peter, maybe you can change the slide. Sure. Perfect, thank you. So my name is Viktor Wallsten. I'm managing the alliance between Capgemini, Sogeti, and Microsoft in Scandinavia. And we're here today to listen to mainly Peter that will talk about Power Platform and give you some inspiration and also do some demoing of the platform. And I will also, in the end, take you through a couple of customer cases that we already done. And I will also show you some of our offerings and how we can help you as a customer to succeed in the area of Power Platform. So I will leave it to you now, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Viktor. Thank you. So I'm Peter Rhodin. I work in the Swedish sub of Microsoft. And work with our partners, and of course Capgemini is one of our top partners that we're doing a lot of good things together with, and especially with Viktor, I would say. So we have a close collaboration. We're creating services for our customers based on our platform to bring value to the customers in the best way possible. So I'm gonna run through our strategies on Power Platform, what you can do, as well as actually do some hands-on demoing, so you get a feeling of what you can accomplish and the ease of building apps and automation, etc., to apply in your organization. So we're going to be running approximately 35-40 minutes and then hand over to Viktor after that. And to sort of set the stage, I would briefly touch on our cloud offerings. The first part of our cloud is of course Microsoft Azure, which is sort of the fundament of our services, which they are all built on. So if you're looking at Microsoft 365 or Office 365, as well as Dynamics 365, they are built on the Microsoft Azure platform, which is basically a set of microservices to deliver the appropriate service. For instance, AI, machine learning services, of course, virtual machine, databases, cognitive services, etc., etc. The second part I would like to mention is the Microsoft 365, which is the productivity cloud, which also includes Windows 10 and all the device and security managing included in our cloud services. Office 365 is of course the fundament here, but we're also focusing a lot of security to make our services the most secure services there are. The next part is the Dynamics 365, which is our business cloud, which consists of a couple of different apps, we call it, targeting the business processes within the customers. For instance, we have sales functionality, we have service functionality for both customer and field service. We have of course the ERP or the finance parts, as well as the supply chain, etc., etc. So this is the business cloud, as well as the thing we're going to focus more on today, which is of course the Power Platform, which sort of brings these three other areas together, and it consists of Power Apps, which enables you to create new apps. It consists as well of Power Automate, which enables you to automate recurring events, to be able to streamline and also do robot processing automation on legacy systems as well. Power BI for analytics, and the Power Virtual Agent for the bots. So these four parts we're going to have a look at today. And the thing is, when we bring all these areas together, that's when the beauty comes. So we tend to make use of the different services within the different cloud parts as much as possible. So for instance, within Dynamics 365, we make use of the AI functionality and the cognitive services, etc., from within Azure and from Microsoft 365. We can fetch data and use Dynamics 365 data from within Outlook. For instance, if you want to quickly create a quote within Outlook without not even leaving the application. And the Power Platform is of course the thing that brings all the services together in a great fashion. So, for an example, if we have a look at how a business process might look to include Power Platform, if we have a look at this scenario, for instance, where we are about to sell something to a customer, we usually use Dynamics 365 to manage the customer, the order, or the opportunity, or the account, etc., etc. And when we bring also the data that's available within Office 365 to the table, we get a more broad view of how we are working with the customer. So we might get insights from, like, we are sending a lot of emails to someone but no answer. We are trying to book appointments with a specific partner or customer. Nothing happens. Then we might need to rethink the way we do approach this customer. And of course, LinkedIn is a part of this journey as well. When we bring the data that's available within social networks like LinkedIn, we can also understand if there is a new way to approach this customer. Maybe a colleague or a friend knows someone that this customer that might introduce us. And the last part is, of course, the Power Platform, which enable us to communicate or collaborate with our partners and give us insights from, for instance, Power BI. We can collaborate with the customer with a Power Platform portal that enables you to exchange data with them. So that's the. I hear some noise in the background. If it's yeah, I continue. I hope they find out themselves who that might be. Sorry about that. We continue. Yeah. So the thing is, as we use cloud services more and more, we are also enabling what we call low-code and no-code development. So according to a couple of research firms, for instance, Gartner, they forecast that this particular type of development will actually account for 65% of the app development by 2024. So compared to how you were doing the development previously. It's more like you have a service that you connect to or develop by using actual programming code, for instance, within Visual Studio. The thing is now that we are aiming for that we are instead letting the what we call citizen developers, or the super users, sort of doing the main part of the customization. They know the processes, they know the data they are working on, and how it should be beneficial for them. So the thing is, the most efficient way to do development is actually to do for them who knows this data, and that's what we're letting them do with the Power Platform, which is a low-code and no-code development platform. We have another research firm that's called Research and Markets. It's forecast that the turnover of 2024 will be approximately $50 billion compared to 2018, when it was approximately 5. So it's a great explosion what we're seeing in this kind of platforms, and of course it's not only Microsoft that's putting a lot of effort and money into this kind of platform. So it's a sort of a global phenomenon that's gonna be very, very important in the future compared to how we traditionally have done the development and modifications of the actual services. So what we hear, if we have like a service, a SaaS service, a cloud service, for instance, let's say take Dynamics 365 for an example, where if we mention the sales app, which is a CRM system, you of course can configure the service in some extent, but you can't do exactly what you are, as a company, are expecting from the system in every single company or every single process. The thing is, we need somehow enable customizations of the SaaS services, and instead of traditionally doing customization by programming, customizing the core of the system, we need some new way to enable this customization, and that's the answer is the Power Platform, for instance. So the Power Platform is the answer for the last percentage that you can't accomplish by doing the configuration within the apps. Another thing, another quote we have here is, we already have the data. The data is resides within a system. We don't want to duplicate this. We want to use the data we already have. And the thing is, with Power Platform, you have several ways of working with the data in different systems out of the box. We're going to have a look at that one within a couple of minutes. Are there any questions on this so far? I can't see any questions on the chat, so I go on, and we can have a look at the actual components of the Power Platform. I briefly mentioned it before, but the Power BI, of course, is the analytics part of the platform, where you can gather data and put it all and transform it in the way you want to show it. So you can gather data from different data sources and put a nice little report or an analytics view on it to show it to your users that that not be the ones that actually know the data. So the thing is, you want to have an easy way of showing data that it's most in a complicated way. So that's the beauty of Power BI. And the Power Apps is, of course, the way you can create new applications or new apps, connecting them to the data you are already using, for instance, in Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Azure, but of course as well competitors to us like G Suite and Salesforce and SAP, etc., and combine the different data sets and show them within an app in an easy manner. So we're going to have a look at that one later on. And the third one is Power Automate. Which was previously named Flow, Microsoft Flow, which is an automation engine which basically triggers on some events. It could be like an email is arriving in your inbox. It could also be someone posting a post on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, or an order is created within SAP. So that triggers something, and then you are able to design what should happen on this actual event. So you're able to design that graphical user interface, and we are also going to have a look at that one in a short while. So the Power Virtual Agent is our bot framework or a bot functionality where you can add bots to your web page, or as well as Facebook or other social media. And it's once again, you don't have to do any programming at all. You can basically tell the bot to have a look at, for instance, a specific web page with your FAQ, and using our machine learning or AI components, we can have the bot actually indexing that page and be able to answer questions based on this information that resides on this particular page. So that's just one example of what you can do. The data connectors, we have over 300 connectors, which I'm going to show you a couple of them later on. And the AI builder part is something we really put a lot of effort to make the best available AI functionality enabled within a Power Platform, without even have to do like data scientist or Python programming, etc. So it should be easy to use AI, and I'm going to give you some examples of that one as well. Portals enables you like building a Power App and then publish it as a web page for your customers or partners to consume and work with the data you have in your systems. And this everything resides in what we call the Common Data Service, which is sort of the engine or the platform that the Power Platform is running on. We briefly touched the connectors. I mentioned a few of them like G Suite and Facebook, etc., but we have a lot of ready connectors for our customers to use. And the beauty of this is we have done the integration to the system. We know what triggers there are. We know what data points there is and the data structure. So you don't, as a customer, have need to actually do the integration, which is usually a really time-consuming, expensive project. So we have already done the hard parts and you as the end user only pick what parts of the connectors you want to use. So it's one of the key features of the Power Platforms. I would say the connectors are. We are. You remember I mentioned the common data service. There was also a thing called the common data model, which is the actual database model that resides in common database service. So we also partner up with SAP as well as Adobe for enabling them as well to make use of this model, which enable us to easily integrate with the system because they use the same language, so to speak, as we do. So if you have a look at the customer entity in a database, they look the same within Adobe and SAP and Microsoft systems. I mentioned previously before the AI functionality. We have this AI builder, which enables end users to make use of AI functionality in a really easy fashion. So what we started off with in many processes, the paper-based, and then we sort of digitalized them to be app-based. But when we make use of the AI machine learning functionality within Power Platform, we have the possibility to automate things. We can have, for instance, the system interpret an image which you can photograph with your phone or upload to the service. And understand what the image actually consists of, how many cores there is on an image, or that's just one example. Of course, it can translate text, etc. So that's the future to help app builders and automation to be even more efficient. So. I would just briefly mention that there's a lot of good things happening. Many customers and magazines and research firms like what we do. And we have a lot of customers. Approximately 3.4 million citizen developers are using our platform monthly. And we have above 200K of customers or organizations that are on the platform. So on this logo list is just one short example of the customers that we have on the platform. Now I have like 5 minutes. Gonna deep dive into how this actually might look like when you actually do the things you're doing in the Power Platform. Any questions so far? Otherwise, I'll pop into the actual services. No, okay. So you start off in the Office portal. You can, of course, head to the apps directly if you want to, but the Office portal is a great way to start. Good to know, if you have Office 365, you have the license for accessing Power Apps or Power Platform in general. If you're connecting to specific services, there might be a license that you need, but to build data on Office 365, you're good to go and to try this out. So I urge you to have a look at this if you have the time afterwards. So we start off having a look at the Power Apps, and just to give you an example of how an app could look like. I've created an app for new hires. So when you're starting up a company, you might want to order computer equipment, and this is of course one example of how this could look like. So I might want to have one of these. I want to check out that. Of course, it recognizes me as a user, and I want this for a year. So I might want keyboard. This one I only want a month. So this is a super easy example of how an app could look like. And of course, this data could come from any system, as you saw on the connectors page. So it could come from SAP, or it could come from Salesforce, or an external warehousing system or something. But this one is actually based on an Excel sheet. So just to have you guys give you guys an idea of how easy it is to create a new app. I would like to start from scratch, connecting to the data I already use. I have a couple of connections here. You can also, of course, add new ones. But for this particular demo, I'd like to connect to a Dynamics 365 system to sort of fetch the item list. So I pick what system I want to connect to, and the table or the entity I'd like to connect. I would like to show the items in this particular application. So what we are using here is a predefined template. You can of course build this application from scratch if you want to. As you can see here, it fetches the actual data from the system as we go. And if you have a look at it looks like sort of a PowerPoint. You can insert images, but you can also insert text, etc., and put it on the canvas, so to speak. So without doing any programming, what the LowCode or the NoCode programming is more or less doing like Excel formulas. If you need some specific areas, you can do that kind of functionality or logic. But we can run this app, and of course this can be run within a tablet or a phone or a web page, which we are running here. And you can have a look at the data. You can also include images. We can edit the data if you want to. So, and of course, if we edit the data, the data will change within the actual system we have connected. So that's the actual beauty of it. We have a couple of different in this template. Of course, you can build whatever you please. We can actually, if we want to show different fields, we might have a look at for instance, the inventory at this particular instead. Okay, that can not a perfect scenario, but yeah, you get. I think you get the actual idea of how this is done. I would like to also show you an example of how we can use the AI functionality within the Power Platform. So, sorry, this is in Swedish. It says identify, and of course you can, if you're running it on a tablet or a phone, you can shoot with your camera. But in this particular case, I will upload an image, and I've learned, I've learn this AI model how the different tea cups are looking like, and it recognizes me this information and fetches the actual price from our backend ERP system. If we have looked at another example, we can see that it recognizes 3 mint teas instead. And of course, you can create an order in the backend if you want to. So that's an application where we make use of the AI functionality. We can also make use of the sort of OCR functionality within Power Platform that's out of the box. So I've enabled a model that understands my invoice. So it basically enables me to extract data from this actual scanned invoice, and which enables me to take this data and extract it and make it available for your other systems if we want to. One pretty interesting example is where we can email invoices, for instance, to a specific mailbox, and then we have the Power Automate to scan that invoice and do this interpretation directly, and put the data that resides from the invoices into the ERP system, for instance, or if you need to create customer service case, etc. And this is all automated. How are we doing on time? We are 11:32. Cool. We jump on to the Power Automate part, which is like triggering on specific events. It could be, for instance, as I mentioned before, an email dropping into a specific mailbox, and based on that, we can do automations. One new part that we are releasing now as well is the RPA functionality, which enables you to actually automate legacy systems as well, which don't have a programming interface. So we sort of record the mouse clicks and the data entered within an old application. So it simulates sort of keyboard strokes and mouse clicks, etc., to enable us to actually integrate and automate that as a part of a greater flow within Power Automate. Let's have a look at how this could look like. What I have here is it says route email based on language. So if I edit this one, we have the sort of UI for the Power Automate, which is triggering on a specific event. In this case, my inbox. I could connect it to any inbox, of course, but in this case, it's my inbox. Then I do functional. There's built-in functionality to sort of clean the data. So I take the data within the body, remove the images, etc., pass it through based on. So you see, you can use the actual content of the email in the upcoming steps. And in this one, I look at the text that is within the body of the email, and run it through our language detection model, which understands what language this particular email is written in, and based on that, I can do a case statement. If it's English, I'll just forward it to a specific email where our colleagues answer on emails that's English, or it could also be inserting them into a Dynamics 365 customer service queue for agents to answer. It's the same within French or default. So this is just an example of how this actually might look like. And with that, I'll if there are no more questions, I'd like to actually hand over to Viktor to talk about the great stuff Capgemini is doing based on this platform. Yes. So, Viktor, are you there?
Viktor, you're on mute. Can you try to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Something wrong with my headset. So thank you very much, Peter. I will now take you through the Power Platform journey as we see it. I'm trying to change the slide.
Sorry, I gave you control. There we are. All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
There seems to be some delay. So maybe you can change the slide then, Peter, because it doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, sure.
Good. So we like to start off with our customers with an inspirational workshop or a seminar. Usually we do this in person, but these times has also made us adapt this to do it virtually. We found some new cool tools so we can make it just as good online as in person. And the idea is to give you inspiration to find your own ideas on how to use Power Platform to be more effective. Or what kind of business problems you think that you can solve with this. So we can take the next slide, Peter. Thank you. And the second thing we do is App in a Day. And App in a Day is actually a pre-packaged Microsoft concept to have you as an end user learn to create an app in a day. You will learn to make simple Power Automate flows. You will learn the CDS, and you will learn to build your own Power App. And we have conducted this for Microsoft a lot of times, both virtually and at the Microsoft premises. And our experience is that it's a great concept, but you can do it even better if you do it with only one organization in the room to use their data and their processes to base all the labs on. So that's what we like to do. You can take the next slide. And when you're ready to really take your ideas into a real product, we have several ways of doing this. We can either help you to set up a hackathon with your own staff or with a combination of our staff and your staff to really work on a couple of ideas. we also have something that is called Thinkabator. It's our take on applied innovation. We start off with a couple of ideas or a couple of business problems and actually make them into a fully functional, in production, minimum lovable products in 6 to 8 weeks. Or we can do app in a week together with you. So it's basically as the app in a day, but we spend a full week to really go deep into all of the different products in the Power Platform. Next slide, Peter. Thank you very much. So when we're done with that and we're ready to use this platform for the whole enterprise, there is, of course, like all platforms or application, a lot of stuff to think about. The governance, how should it be set up? How should you set up your retention policies for data? Maybe you have a multi-geo strategy in this, so you have to apply to GDPR and other regulations. So we can also help you with that. We also have a cool new solution that is a component library that we're building. It will be launched in the next couple of weeks. So it's a library with all kind of different components like headers, footers, menus, buttons that will all be adapted to your company with the logo and with the coloring and everything. So it will be even easier for you to build those apps. Next slide, Peter. And when we have the governance in place, it's time to get the real value out of this platform and start working on your legacy systems to automate stuff with Flow and to build extensions with Power Apps. And we can also help you with that, of course. I think we go to the next slide. And one of the customer cases I wanted to highlight today is where we helped IKEA to build a solution for their kitchen sales and the business-to-business sales. And the problem was that due to a lack of systems today, their idea was that they are losing a lot of business since they have a problem to follow up with customers. So based on Dynamics, together with Flow and Power Apps, we built an application for their kitchen sales. So when you book a meeting on the IKEA website to get some help with your kitchen idea, you will actually use this application, and the salespeople in IKEA can also use this to follow up. And in the end of the year, they can focus on closing the opportunities that they already started working on, instead of putting all the effort into new customers that will be a sale in the next year. And it's the same for the business-to-business solution. I got a new slide here. We also helped Roebuck Bank, a Dutch bank that are present in several countries all over the world. So they had some challenges implementing the Power Platform, and they wanted the platform to stay open for everyone to build on. And in order to do this, to let people do and help them to do right, we have helped them to build a compliance center, which actually every night scans through all the Power BI dashboards, all the Power Apps, and all the flows. And if it detects new flows or new apps, it will send an email to the user to actually ask the user, do you need any help? Please think of this when you're creating your apps, and so on. And we also started our work with the idea to build a component library when we started in Roebuck Bank. We have also helped them to set up a multi-geo strategy. As a bank, it's kind of important that you know where your data is, and there is also GDPR and other regulations to adapt to. So I think we can go to the next slide, Peter. So if you look at this Boost library I previously mentioned, we have also, except from components, we also put some custom connectors in there. There is a lot of connectors in there, but there is also a possibility to create custom connectors for the applications that isn't already in there. So we built it for Power BI. We set up it so you can access data from the audit log and connectors, and also Dynamics on premises. But we've also, as I said, helped them with a lot of best practices to help their users to do right. We help them with the wiki site, the Jammer group, and the compliance center. I think we can take next slide, Peter. And when delivering this, we have several different possibilities. We can either, of course, deliver through our local units in Sweden, or we can nearshore it in Europe, but we also have delivery centers in India for this. So I think we can continue to the next slide since we're over time. And as the last slide, I wanted to share with you that we have an offer right now if you want help to kickstart your Power Platform journey. So we'll basically do most of the things I went through now. We will start off with a virtual innovation workshop. We will set up a remote app in a day session with you and a couple of colleagues. We will help you to get the governance in place, and we will do a rapid development sprint of 24 days to actually build the first app or apps depending on your needs. So please feel free to reach out after this if you have any questions, or please ask questions right now.
Thank you, Viktor. It seems like we didn't get any questions, but we'll, of course, share the content of this webinar with everybody who registered for the webinar, including contact details for both Peter and Viktor if you want to hear more, or if you're interested in doing the first workshop. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we look forward to see you on the next webinar. Thank you, Viktor. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.